Use prime factorization to determine the greatest common factor of the given whole numbers. Remember, to determine the prime factorization, you can use either a tree diagram or division table. For this example, I'll use one of each. In part A, I'll start with a tree diagram. I'll break down 254 first. The first factors I thought of were 5 and 49. If you use different factors, that's okay. Your final answer will be the same as mine. When you get to a prime number, circle it and continue to break down any other numbers. So for 245, I have 5 times 7 times 7. Let's move on to 315. Again, I used 5 and 63. So when I break down 63, I have 7 and 9, which breaks down to 3 times 3. So 5, 7, 3, and 3. And finally, 770, I used 10 and 77. 10 breaks down to 5 and 2. 77 breaks down to 7 and 11. In order to determine the greatest common factor, I need to see which prime factors these numbers have in common. I see they each have 1, 5 in common, so I'm going to use that. They also each have 1, 7 in common. And then when I look, I see that there's nothing else in common. So 5 times 7 is 35. My greatest common factor is 35. Let's look at the next example. This time I'm going to use a division table. I'll start with 171. Remember, with the division table, the numbers you put to the left have to be prime. So I'm going to start by dividing by 3, which will leave 57. And again, I divided by 3, which left 19. Don't stop there. Make sure you continue on until your right column equals 1. So again, I divided by 19 to get down to 1. The answers in my left column are my prime factorization. Let's do 285 next. Divide by 5 first to get 57, which is divisible by 3, which makes 19. Now I saw this one before, so again I divide by 19 to leave myself with 1. So 5 times 3 times 19. Let's do 399 next. 399 can be divided by 3, which leaves 133. 133 is not divisible by 3 or 2, so I try 7, which leaves 19. You'll start to see that these numbers do have some factors in common. Let's complete our last one, 1,140. I first divided it by 2, which left 570, which I divided by 2 again. That leaves 285. So I divided that by 5. 285 divided by 5 is 57. Now I start to see some familiar numbers. That's divisible by 3 to make 19, which is divisible by 19 to make 1. Obviously this is a larger number, so there are a lot more factors. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 19. Now what I need to do is see what factors they have in common. I see that all of them have at least 1 3, so that becomes a common factor. The only other factor they have in common is 19. So 3 times 19 becomes my greatest common factor, which is 57.